you refer to the Bodysex brand, and that's why we're all here as leaders, is we are working kind of under like the umbrella of the Bodysex brand. So let's define it. Let's break it down.
And this comes up when you're
Mhm.
marketing events, because sometimes people might take education from body sex, or they might view the documentary and then add in other rituals or other practices, the wheel of consent and all of these things. And that's wonderful. Body sex for me means certain
Mhm.
things. For me, it's the hard
Yes.
line that Betty always
Mhm.
towed. It means genital show and
Right.
tell. It means education about the internal clitoris and the pelvic floor muscle and vulva
Mhm.
styles. It means the rock and roll orgasm
Yes.
technique. And those are the hallmarks. And it's self love and independent orgasm. And it's the non authoritarian, how we sit in the
Mhm.
circle. I don't think body sex
Right.
would work if we were all in
Mhm.
rows and we were all
Mhm.
clothed, right? It's like I'm connecting to my body
Yes.
and I'm learning to appreciate my
Yes.
body.
Yes. I think also the non-authoritarian, to break that down a little bit more, it's about first person sharing. That you
Mhm.
as a leader, the leader is willing to be vulnerable, and that first person is sharing is encouraged around the circle.
Yeah, first person sharing, and you always go
Yes.
first too.
Yes.
So if it's a nude circle, everyone's nude. You're not wearing a
Mhm.
sarong. Okay, because it has to be equal. Genital show and tell, you have to show your
Yes.
vulva. Erotic recess, you have to
Right.
masturbate too.
Right.
Right? So that's kind of it. Like whatever we're asking, we're
Mhm.
doing. And we're modeling it first, and it has to be first person sharing. As soon as you start saying you should or most women like, all those kind of pejorative statements out the
Mhm.
window. This is my
Yes.
experience. What is
Yes.
yours?
Yes. And that's where the learning comes in. So as a future body sex leader, you're going to be developing your brand. So under that body sex umbrella, how do brands differentiate? And I'll share first person. And this has been developed over time, right? Because when I first started out, I really didn't know my brand. So my brand is about the kinds of clients that I attract. Okay. And so I think for
Mm.
me, my brand is gray hair, right? You know, typically the clients that are attracted to me are older. And also, I have a large body. I'm a plus sized woman. So that's also in my brand. I stick personally very closely to the model of traditional body sex in the way that Betty does it because it's so brilliant. Um, I might add I have like little rose quartz hearts that I give to everyone as a gift at the end. Um,
Oh,
and
I like
they're like on
that.
the
That's
tray with the
sweet.
candle, so everybody has like a piece of that energy to take with them. And rose quartz is a symbol of self-love. So, and compassion. So they take a piece of that with them. So that's a piece of my brand. Now, does that change anything from the circle or from Betty? No. So I think when you develop your brand, you don't want to take anything out.
During my
Hmm.
virtual work, right? We didn't do vulva massage in
Hmm.
the workshops, right? But Betty always talked about the importance of vulva massage and making a tactile connection with your sex organ, a visual connection with your sex organ. So think about the tenets, the things that Betty said all
Right.
the time. Those are the
Hmm.
fundamentals. So if you are teaching to look outward and doing a blowjob class or doing, that's not body sex. Body sex is I'm going within. Body sex is right here.
Hmm.
This is
Right.
enough. This is all I need. Body
Hmm.
appreciation, right? Speaking my mind, stating my pleasure, running the
Yes.
fuck. And how do I do it? I go through these rituals in a group, right? So I can make the
Hmm.
connection. I think I pretty much follow exactly what Betty does. Verbatim, there are
Hmm.
little wrinkles. Things like in the workshops, we never dealt with painful penetration, and now that's a big part
Right.
of my practice. So I've adapted the rock and roll where I warm up first with hands, then vibe, and we might take an orgasm before we do penetration, but that
Mhm.
wasn't an issue when Betty so that's still the
Yes.
fundamentals, right? I'm stimulating my own body, but I might change up how I do the rock and roll because now I think because of the extreme objectification of women on
Mhm.
social media, it's manifesting with tight
Yes.
pelvic floor
Yes.
muscles.
Yes. And I think that's part of adapting the work, which we wanna do. We want it to grow and move forward. Another example that you might wanna add in is yoga. In Betty's early when
Yeah.
you've studied Betty's history, she did include yoga. So healthful, but it's body connected. I think part of the Body Sex brand is you're
Mhm.
going into the body. It's not about the head, it's about the body, right?
I remember there was a body sex leaders, they were doing henna tattoos and they would paint
Mhm.
each other's body. That's such a beautiful
Right.
moment of reverence and adornment, and it reminds me of taking your vulva
Mhm.
portrait, right? And doing things like that, completely in keeping
Mhm.
with the brand.
I think in the beginning workshops, you don't know your brand yet as you start. Your brand is something that you develop. And I think it's best to stick close to the model while you're learning because it's going to take you, like, for your first 4 or 5 or even 6 workshops before you even start to just feel comfortable with doing the basics, doing it as Betty planned it. And then if you wanna build on from there, with something that keeps women in their bodies, that respects and shows reverence for their bodies, then, that could be a good add-on.